my hike in the mountains, and started raining, and so while I was in here, I was doing a little reading of scriptures, and that scripture I want to read to you that was good, and gleams off from it as I come in this cave, and I think you will too. It is Psalms 125, and it says, "Those who trust in the Lord are like Mount Zion. It is not shaken, it remains forever. As the mountains surround Jerusalem, so the Lord surrounds his people, now and forever. The scepter of the wrongless shall not rest on the land allotted to the righteous." Pretty interesting scripture. Well, I was thinking about it. I was walking. This cave right here is dry. And no matter where I'm at, if a situation occurs, if it starts snowing and it gets real cold and I need shelter, I make my way to this cave. If I'm out here and it starts raining and I'm starting to get wet and I need shelter, I make my way to this cave. If it's hot weather and I'm hiking and I get covered in ticks or whatever, and it's just hot and I get real hot and need to cool off, I make my way to this cave. If it's storms and tornadoes and lightning and things like that, and we need help, I make my way to this cave. I'm near the entrance of the cave. That's why you can see me. I got enough light here that I can see. Right there behind me. It's dark, but it's steady. Whatever the situation is out there, the situation in here doesn't change. See, that's the thing. Whatever's going on out there and outside the cave that's giving me trouble, it doesn't change in here. This is it's constantly dry, quiet, safe, and perpetually 58 degrees in here year round. So if it's hot out there, it's cool in here. If it's freezing out there in ice, and say it's warm in here. If it's wet out there, it's dry in here. If it's loud out there, it's quiet in here. This is a constant source of refuge, and I come to it when I'm in need of a refuge. And you think about that. So that scripture in Psalms 125 says, "Those who trust in the Lord are like Mount Zion, which can never be moved." Does that mean that we don't move all the time? Like I'm never moved. Well, I've moved sometimes. There's times I'm moved and troubled by things that I consider out of my control. But at that time, I'm not trusting in the Lord. But when I put my trust back in Him, then I'm not moved. It says that scripture says, "As the mountains surround Jerusalem, the Lord surrounds His people." And it says, "As Mount Zion's in the midst of Jerusalem, the Lord is in the midst of His people." So He's around us and in our midst, and He's a constant source of stability. And I think that's why when we look at mountains or like ocean, like somebody that likes to go and look at a big wide open prairie, open space, or someone that likes to go and look at the ocean, like the sea, look out across the sea, in the distant horizon, and the sky meets the water, or standing on a precipice, looking out across the mountains. The things that those have in common is they don't change; they're stable. Those are views that you could, when you look at those, if there's nothing out there to hinder that view, it could be 5,000 years ago or 5 minutes ago. But it's a source of stability. It doesn't change. And that's the way God is. We change. Our situation changes. Our weather changes. Out here, Lord, it was yesterday, the day before yesterday, it barely made it to freezing, you know. And then we got snow coming in a couple of days. Right now, it's been thundering and raining out there, might near 50 degrees. So that's an ever-changing situation out there, the weather and the elements and the circumstances that you find yourself in out there. But this doesn't change. This mountain stands, and this cave is always the same. And that's what God is to us. Our situations around us change, you know. Our daily situations change. Our health changes, our finances changes, the world around us, the political world changes, and all these things change, and they will. But God doesn't change, and His Word doesn't change. You know, the Scripture says that the grass withers and the flowers fade, but the Word of the Lord endures forever. It doesn't change, and there's translations that change. But the words that He spoke Himself, that He spoke, came out of His mouth and was written down. And you go back and find them in the original text, they're without change. And so, you know, get as close to that as you can get. But the situation here is like, you know, we find ourselves in times of peace, times of war. Find ourselves in times of plenty and in times of famine. We find ourselves in times of health and in times of sickness. And we see people in life and in death. All of these things take place all the time. I experience them all the time. They can get us down sometimes. They do me. But He never changes. He doesn't move. He's fixed. He's a fixed. Put your eyes on Him and He's fixed. He don't move. You can be sure that He don't move. He's our shelter, and I have no need for any protection beyond Him. Now you see, I got a 45 right over here. If I'm wandering around these woods, that's the Lord protecting me, because He gave me the good sense to acquire that, to protect myself if need be. And I'd rather. I'm a warning shot kind of a guy. I have a hard time taking life in any sort. I hunt some, but it's a struggle, believe me. But even everything we do, whether it's the fact that I've got in my bag over there, I've got a water filter, a straw where I can suck water up out of the creek or whatever. That's God that providing that for me, because He gave me the knowledge that I needed it, put the information available to me, gave me resources to purchase it, and the good sense to use it. So He's stable. And so, but if we thank Him for everything, and we see Him in everything, we see Him in this cave. This cave here was a source of protection for me today. So it allows me to be out here in the wilderness and kind of ride out this weather for a little while. And if it doesn't work, if I still have to make my way back to the cabin through the mountains in the rain, well, my buddy Larry gave me this good poncho here, and it'll keep me warm, and it'll keep me dry on the walk. God put my brothers and sisters in my path, friends and family, and we thank Him for it. But just think about that scripture, and think about the stability of God, that He's stable. As the mountains are around Jerusalem, the Lord is around His people. So when you look around and you see mountains all around, and just think about how God is around you like that in your high points and in your low points. We have joy is the key. We're not always going to be happy, but we can have joy. Joy is something that's within us, and it's our ability to know that as Mount Zion is in the midst of Jerusalem, the Lord is in the midst of His people. The unrighteous, who try to occupy your space, your spot, there'll be no rest on. And they're always anxious. They're always, there's something going on. Those that try to take your position and try to steal your joy. No different than what's going on over there in the land of Israel today. Those that try to take what God had given as an inheritance to the descendants of Abraham. There's no rest on them. They're always a constant conflict. They're always they're always hungry. They're always fighting. There's always war. There's always strife and trouble. And they blame it on anything but themselves. That's the way people do. But the righteous are not. The psalmist said, I've been young and now I'm old, but I've never seen the righteous forsaken, nor his seed begging bread. But look up that scripture in Psalms 125 and think about the stability of God, the fact that he don't move. He's a fixed point. You can line up with him, and we blow around. I blow around. I change. I have situations and struggles and worries and things and ups and downs, and sometimes I'm good and sometimes I'm not so good. Sometimes I'm right on line, and sometimes I get angry and upset at people and do things and whatever. I'm not your waypoint. Like no people. We're not people, individuals, seniors and elders and things like that. We're not your fixed position, but we're supposed to point you to the waypoints. Like don't look at me to determine how steadfast God is. Look, I'm pointing to you and tell you, here's where to look. Look in his word and then just see how steadfast he is. Anyway, it's a beautiful Sabbath day, even though it's raining. Every day is beautiful in its own way. So I hope that you have a good and blessed day. My prayers for you and for everybody. And whatever inclement circumstances you find yourself in, whether it's weather, storms, or whatever it is, that I point you to the refuge, to the stronghold, the source of our strength, and call upon him, call upon his name, get him close to him as you can, and get in his word and find rest for your souls. And as the scripture says, ask for the old ways, ask for the ancient path, and walk in them. Had to take refuge again. Cleft of the rock. Same mountain. Started pouring down raining. Yeah. It's bad. Icicles falling off out there. Lots of things going on. But you look right here. I'm on the cleft of this rock. The same mountain hung dry. Look here how dry this here is. Look out there how wet everything is. Cleft of the rock. Mountain's fixed. Won't be moved. Pouring down now on my way back. Old Larry come through for me. Through the Buffalo River behind it back there. It's all good. Making our way back. Got shelter. Got brothers, got shelter.